Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We are so excited to dive in to our platform, Tenant Connect, and teach you how to give your tenants the self-service experience that they want and are expecting. So let me add the presentation onto the stage here, and we will just go ahead and get started. Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Christy. My name is Matt, and I'm an account manager with DaVinci. I've been in the industry for around 8 years, and just about 5 of those years, I worked for one of the big REITs, Extra Space Storage. I was a facility manager, and I got to oversee a few different properties. And I also kind of got to witness the transition from more traditional storage to kind of like a remote, contactless rentals and things like that. So I'm glad to expand on what I think are the big differences and how that's impacted all of us still today.
Yeah, and I'm Christy. I'm the marketing manager here at DaVinci. So you might see us on some Instagram reels and TikToks now, which is very exciting. And then before we get started, I do want to say there is going to be time for Q&A at the end. So throughout the presentation, feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat, and then we can queue them up and pin them to make sure that they get answered. So Matt, if you just want to go ahead and get started, we can jump into it.
Yeah, great. So when we think about what the new standard is for the tenant experience, I would say that it's a combination of independence and speed. These are two things that are not only convenient for the tenant, but it's almost an expectation today. So, and this extends beyond storage. If you go, anywhere you go to the airport, you want to get a meal or something like that, you can get it fast, and you can use your phone to accomplish everything. So I think independence and speed are going to be some of the biggest things there.
Yeah. And Matt, as a former store manager for Extra Space and now an account manager at DaVinci, you've kind of seen both sides of operations, more old school and more automated technology. Are you seeing that operators who offer this self-service gain a competitive advantage?
I think there's definitely a big competitive advantage because if you're able to offer that independence and instantaneous self-service, you kind of have a leg up on competition who's maybe still doing a lot of things more manually, and you're making the tenant wait essentially for things that are essentially just could be the click of a button. And so it's almost like instant results for the tenant, and then you can offer that through a web app, through your website, and it's just a better experience for you as an operator and for the tenant.
Yeah, definitely. And then we did want to ask a quick poll question. We love hearing from facility operators and owners, and we would love just to know what's most important to your tenants when renting. So feel free to drop something in the chat, and we can chat about it. But we'll keep the slide deck rolling too.
Awesome. So thinking about some common pain points from the operator's perspective, I'd say one of the top ones is going to be chasing delinquent tenants. This is collection calls. The tenants that aren't paying their bill, are we calling them? Are we collecting those payments? Tenant access requests is going to be the second one. This is, I need to get into my unit. I forgot my gate code. Kind of like everyday access requests like this. High call center volume is a big pain point. And then outdated systems is going to be another one. So is the technology that you're using, it's a little antiquated, and you're making the tenant wait for simple type requests. So these four pain points, I would say, are some of the top ones that I recall experiencing, and that I talk to a lot of people still today that are experiencing similar pain points.
Hmm. Yeah. And then, as your experience as that store manager, which of these out of the list frustrated you most back then?
Me personally, it was the high call center volume. And so I think as a store manager, I like to think that I was a pretty good one. And there's an expectation of I shouldn't just be sitting there at the computer. I should be out on the property checking for curb appeal and gutters? Is there any kind of property damage I need to be aware of, and get vendors out there? And so if I'm just sitting there at the computer, I'm not doing a very good job with anything else. And I think sitting there at the computer ready to assist is exactly what the tenant expectation is. So I think there's some conflict there between what the tenant might think is a great experience versus what you as an owner operator might think is a good experience. So having to take those phone calls, and I wasn't able to help right away. Maybe I had to call them back. That was always a big pain point for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think any of those led to negative reviews or tenant experiences?
I think so. I'd like to think that I was able to smooth things over the majority of the time, but there was definitely some element of frustration that they had to wait. Maybe they're sitting outside the property gate, and I'm at the bank making a deposit, or whatever the case is. So there was definitely some instances of that.
Mhm. Yeah. And then did you want to give an overview of just our three products and then you can see in the fourth something exciting coming?
Yeah, so hopefully everybody in this call is familiar with our core product. The DaVinci Lock is it's an automated tenant access solution. So it's at the unit level. Tenants make a payment. We are able to text and email that unlock code for that specific lock instantly. So that's the DaVinci Lock. We have the Tenant Connect portal, which we'll dive into here in a second. What's the benefits? What are the features of Tenant Connect? That's the tenant facing portal. Our brand new product is the GOAT, the Gate Operator Access Technology. So that is gate access specifically. And then we have a new product coming soon that we'll be excited to announce. So stay tuned for that. But DaVinci Lock, Tenant Connect, GOAT, these are our current three solutions that work holistically for an automated property.
Yeah.
So talking about the flow of the tenant experience, let's walk through that. How does it work? Let's just like the tenant is going to arrive at the property, and there's some custom branded signage which we're offering. By the way, you should check out our website. You can customize your logo, colors, font, everything like that. The tenant can scan the QR code, instantly pull up the Tenant Connect menu. They do not need to download an app. That's super important because we found that they just won't. They won't download an app. Nobody wants to put that on their phone. We do
Mhm.
it right in the web browser, and we're just verifying who they are, which we'll go through that process next.
If they're like me with being a marketing manager, I'm almost out of storage all the time. I don't have room to download apps.
Yes. And so verification is a big one. We need to make sure that the person who's trying to get into the property is who they say they are. We use OTP verification. That's one-time password verification for those who like to know how the technology works on the back end. And if you've ever used like a banking app or something, it's same concept. We just text a code to that tenant. So they can verify who they are, and they can get right there through the gate. Accessing the facility. So once they're verified, we have confirmed that the phone number is current and that they don't have a balance due. With the software, that's another big important concept. We will open the gate automatically with the goat, or they can open the gate with the press of a button, and so they're able to get into the facility. So far, scan of a QR, verified phone number, they're in. Um, Self-serves their unit door is going to be the last part of this process. So they've made it through the property, they've accessed their lock code through the Tenant Connect portal. Now they're at the unit and they're in. So
And then from start to finish, how long have you heard or seen this process take for a tenant?
this process is going to take maybe a minute or two. So depending on how quick you can scan a QR with your camera phone, this is going to come pretty much instantly, and then it just flows super easily. So less than a couple of minutes, you're in the door, and you did it all on your phone.
Wow. And then too, I want to say we're going to start diving into, the key features of Tenant Connect and what that looks like. So we're going to be rolling through some of these. So feel free. I see some people dropping questions in the chat. I'm going to keep pinning those. to the chat for Q&A at the end. So feel free to keep dropping those in there.
Awesome. One of my favorite parts about Tenant Connect is that it's totally white labeled. So there's no mention of Tenant Connect. There's no DaVinci lock verbiage. If tenants, aren't familiar, they just see your company logo and your colors. It's meant to, match your website one to one in the phone browser. So, and this actually translates to if you have multiple brands under, one umbrella. If you have multiple locations, but they're not the same brand, we can make multiple portals for all of those. So seamless payments is like a huge component of Tenant Connect. I think again, as a store operator, a lot of the phone calls I received was, to make some kind of payment. And if you've ever taken credit card payments over the phone, it's not fun and it's potentially not as secure in 2025. So having the ability just for the tenant to verify who they are, make their payment right then and there, that's going to give them instant access. They can pay the current balance. They can prepay for a few months. We encourage auto pay. You can toggle that on or off, whether auto pays toggled by default. These payments are made directly from the app, so they don't need to log in or visit your website. And then the gate access is going to be automatically denied until that payment's received. So the app will actually incentivize them to pay to gain access. And I think also, one of my favorite things about Tenant Connect is the tenant can't ask our app for, to waive a late fee or something like that. They're gonna have to make the full payment, get access to the unit.
Yeah, that does help with that. And then how much time do you think this really saves? Or what do you think helps the most with like those awkward delinquency conversations, maybe security?
Yeah, and like I said, as a store manager, there was often conversation about, I didn't know I was late. Can we waive this fee? And I had to explain, I'm sorry, we can't do that. It was maybe a little awkward. And I know some managers that would waive a lot of fees, and so that kind of added up. And then
Mhm.
um, I think having something that's very streamlined and to the point, make your payment, you have instant access. And if you've ever had to call to make a payment on anything, just think about any other service like your electrical bill. If you've had to do that, it takes a long time. It's not fun. It's not a good experience. So
Mhm. Definitely.
coming back to tenant access, the OTP verification, like we said, I scan the QR as a tenant. It's going to request my phone number. I'm going to get that one-time password to verify I am who I say I am. I can open the gate. I can view any and all DaVinci lock codes that are assigned to me there. So all of the access is there in the app. So tenants can request support from you directly through the app. And then Colette, we just had a great question. What if they rented the wrong size unit? This is a good opportunity to expand on the support aspect. You may need to provide some manual assistance transferring them from one unit to another. But the good news is that they can reach out for support right then and there through the app. They can either send you an email, or we could do like a chatbot, like a swivel, things like that. So if you don't have a call number that you'd like to use on site, we do have some support options baked into the Tenant Connect app.
Mhm. Yeah.
Move outs is another big part of just kind of day-to-day requests. So one of the biggest things that frustrated me as an operator was getting all the way to the foreclosure, unit inventory, and I open up that unit and it's completely empty. There's probably nothing more frustrating than knowing I could have rented that unit. And so having the ability to, get flagged from a tenant when they're intending to move out is pretty huge. You can follow up with them and make sure that their move out experience is going well. And it's not like one of those awkward conversations where you try to charge me another month and I had already moved out. Yeah, it's great to just kind of eliminate that. So what happens is the tenant can submit a photo of their empty unit to the facility manager's email, and we just ask, hey, thanks for the move out request. Give us 48 hours to get back to you, and we'll help process your move out. So the move out request function for tenants has really simplified that process for ending the rental.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the move out features is awesome.
Yeah, and similarly, auction buyers, employees, vendors, things like that. A lot of people are probably still doing cash deposits on auctions, but if you are looking to, migrate to more of a contactless, auction experience, if you're using something like a third-party auctioneer service, our app actually allows you to put in your invoice ID from that auction, take a picture of the empty unit, just much like the move out, and you can notify the property, hey, I've cleared out the auction unit I purchased. You can verify that, give the deposit back remotely, and you've kind of automated that as well without having to drive back and forth to the property, which can be great. Employees and vendors, this is going to provide goat access specifically is huge here. I can add like a landscaping crew, or I can make sure that my store manager is able to access the goat even if they don't have a unit that's rented under their phone number specifically. So these
Mhm.
are super convenient, toggleable options in our Tenant Connect portal.
Yeah, and do you see that, like, the auction buyers, employees, and vendors would likely save a store manager a lot of time?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely having non-tenants
Mhm.
just kind of hanging out by the gate waiting to get in was a big part. It's like maybe the code that they were using was changed by another employee, or whatever the case, and now they can just scan it with their phone and they're good to go. I think it could potentially be a huge pain point depending on how many non-tenants are frequently coming in and out of your property for any reason.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so something that we're doing, you can try Tenant Connect complimentary for 30 days. That's from implementation. We'll set up some time to onboard your facility and get some temporary signage made and QR codes, and then 30 days from there, give it a shot. Give us your feedback. We think that you'll love it. The QR code that you see on the screen here is going to link straight to our one of our team members, Colby. He's great. He will take care of you, and we'll get you all set up. But we're looking forward to showing you how it works.
Yeah, definitely. And just leading into some Q&A questions now. We have a couple. Feel free to drop more in the chat and we'll get to them. If we can, if we don't get to your question today, we'll definitely reach out individually as well. But one we received was, do you make the QR codes for signage?
Yeah, so we actually make all of the QR codes directly in Tenant Connect. They're dynamic QR codes, which is huge because let's say that you print QR codes on metal signage or something like that, and you want to change that in a few months or a year, whatever the case, you can do that in the Tenant Connect portal. You can just redirect where that QR code is going, and so it's easy to make changes without having to manufacture new signs. So.
Yeah, definitely. We'll help you with all the signage process from start to end, like Matt mentioned earlier. So we try to make it as easy as possible to get those signs created for you. And that's a new offering. So we're really excited to see those signs out there. And we have another one. How do you know if someone should get access to the facility? It's a good question.
Yeah. So with our integration, we're able to kind of cross-reference that phone number with the platform and see, does this person have a balance due? Do they exist at all? If there's no record of the person, then maybe they need to enter another code to get in with our virtual keypad. If they're current on their space, we're just going to let them right in, and they're good to go. They can get access to their lock codes. If they owe a balance, we actually give them a link right there to pay in the Tenant Connect app. So
Yeah, very convenient. And then we got another one from Brian. Does Tenant Connect work with web self storage?
currently, Tenant Connect works with, I believe, four of our FMS platforms. Brian, I think what we'd probably want to do is set you up with, have a conversation with Colby, and we can make sure that that integration will work for you. I want to say off top that um, SiteLink, Storage, Self Storage Manager. I know for sure that these three are completely functional with Tenant Connect, and we can make sure that everything works exactly how you need to.
And then can I see when employees or vendors arrive on site?
So if yes, with our Tenant Connect dashboard, you can see who's coming in and out of the property, and the main dashboard page. We have it's akin to a gate log. It's going to show who's scanning QR codes with what phone number and what time, and it's actually pretty insightful because you can even collect data that you maybe weren't intending to in the first place. Like, oh, I have a lot of traffic on my site on this, this date that I'm normally closed, or these hours. Maybe I should have somebody, come by the site after these specific times. So yeah, we very closely track QR code and gate activity in the Tenant Connect dashboard.
Mhm. I saw somebody asked if I could put the QR code back on the screen, so we'll keep going through the Q&A, but I'm gonna leave it on this screen for now, and I'm also gonna put the meeting link in the chat as well if you prefer just to click that button there. And then we got asked, is there a leasing process when they rent?
Great question. So the Tenant Connect portal will actually just direct straight to that facility's rental page. So whatever software we are connecting with, we're just directing the tenant to rent from your website. We don't rent the unit from our software. We're just kind of streamlining straight to the rental page. So, and what's kind of nice about this is, again, if you have multiple properties, you can have one QR code, but with geolocation, we know exactly where to point that tenant to rent at that site. So we're kind of bypassing the need for the tenant to go to, www.yourwebsite.com and then searching for the facility, like what address is this? You can just eliminate all of that. So it's really great. So the leasing process is the one that you're using today, is the short answer to that question.
Great. And I think that's it for Q&A today. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining. Again, I will send a webinar follow-up email with the recording to this so you can reference key parts. We send it to your team, and then as well the link to book a call and get that complimentary month of Tenant Connect. But feel free to reach out to us. Let me scroll to the next slide again. info@DaVinci Lock. If you guys have any questions, we are here to help. Thanks, Matt, for hopping on and telling us about your experience.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.